If you're looking for cheap tickets to go to the basketball game, I got you covered. It's just JP partnering with SeatGeek to give you the best ticket purchasing experience. Download the SeatGeek app and you'll unlock so many opportunities to go to an event you will certainly enjoy, like a basketball game. What's awesome about SeatGeek is that it gives you the best price from a lot of sellers, and it separates the good from the bad, and also shows you the viewpoint of your seat on your next outing. Yes, use that, but hold on, there's more. Use the promo code It'sJustJP to get $20 off your purchase. Your deal just got even more awesome. So what are you waiting for? Download the SeatGeek app for your next event experience.
Is this the dagger?
What up, JP Nation? It's your boy JP. Today we are reacting to Jimmy Butler getting his revenge on the Boston Celtics. Congratulations to the Miami Heat of going to the NBA Finals after a 7-game series against the Boston Celtics. I'm still a little hooked and still haven't recovered from that playoff series and everything. Man, it wasn't just Jimmy Butler, man. Caleb Martin just showed out and played like he was Michael Jordan, just hitting these shots and just going crazy. Duncan Robinson just coming out the grave, just from DMPs, and he kicked the Celtics ass. Bam Adebayo with his defense, and also one game where he looked like Shaquille O'Neal and just posterizing everybody, man. I mean, Celtics just could not stop the zone, could not do anything when it came to the Miami Heat's zone defense and all that. Especially Game 7 when Tatum went down with that ankle injury, and it just, I mean, the L sucked out of the room, and the Celtics just left the building after that happened and all that. So, yeah, Jimmy Butler got us in a couple games and all that, so well-deserved, Jimmy Butler. I'm still mad, but it's all good, though. So we're going to check out this video. Make sure you subscribe to It'sJustJP for more basketball content. Click the notification bell. You know where our next upload is. On the road to 40K. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Without further ado, let's go and get into the video. Let's see how Jimmy Butler got revenge on the Celtics.
Smart. Fakes. Fires. Butler. He can tie. For the lead.
Oh, yeah, I remember that. And he missed.
So we had enough. Next year, we will have enough, and we're going to be right back in the same situation, and we're going to get it done.
He did say that.
Much later.
So it's a Game 7. They stand eye to eye with history, and they did not blink. The Heat are going to the NBA Finals.
Crazy that the Heat and Celtics face each other 3
the 2023
times.
finals are set, and the Miami Heat, yes, the Miami Heat are going back to the finals for the second time in only 4 years. And this time for the Heat, unlike 2020, it's an improbable run against all odds. As in the first round versus the Bucks, nobody gave him a shot in this series. And for Jimmy up to this point, I would say this series was the best of his career.
Jimmy was unbelievable in the playoffs.
Outplaying Giannis and having numerous
Giannis was out a couple games.
Winning in 5 games. Now versus the Knicks in the second round, I wasn't that worried in this series. Butler was banged up, that made it
with the
interesting,
ankle.
but the Heat at the end of the day were the better team with more experience. Now looking at the conference finals, up to this point, this is the biggest triumph for the Heat. As coming into the series, they had a 3% chance to beat Boston, according to ESPN. And only 1 game out of the 7 were the favorites to win a single game. And if you want to talk about so-called Heat culture, this series versus Boston proved that is undoubtedly real. As Butler, he had a pretty good series, averaging 24 points, but for the most part of the story is about the other guys and their role players.
Undrafted players.
Specifically Caleb Martin, who I would argue was debatably the MVP of this series.
Yes.
Shooting a ridiculous 60% from the field and 49%
He kicked our
from the
ass.
3-point line. And looking at guys like
Gabe Vincent, yep.
Duncan Robinson, they shot 50% from deep and 48% from deep.
Shout out to Gabe Vincent.
Guys like Strus, Lowry, Bam,
Yep.
they had moments here and there. But for the most part, it was their role players, their shooters, and it's their big-time players coming through in big-time moments. And to contrast that full team effort of a cohesive Miami team to Boston, it's pretty much night and day. As watching Boston's offense versus the extended zone, it was
Struggle.
infuriating to watch. As time and time again, it would be dribble, dribble, dribble,
Yep.
15 seconds, no movement, no anything, and
Broken.
jack up a three. Compared to the Heat, who a team unit knew how to play together and beat any defensive set. And the mental toughness for Spo and Jimmy, it goes beyond sports. As from a psychological standpoint, being so close to making the finals, having it snatched away, human nature coming to Game 7, you're going to be a little bit sad, a little bit down. But still in Game 7,
That was a crazy
on the
game winning by
road,
Dale, right?
they destroyed Boston and snatched their souls.
Yep.
And I do find it pretty funny. This Heat team for the season was 17-24 on the road. But versus Boston and Milwaukee, they clinched both those series on the road versus past East champions. And when you talk about NBA history, of course the play-in tournament is new, but I can't imagine any play-in team for the next 25-30 years actually making the finals like the Heat did. And like I've said numerous times, in Game 1 of the play-in tournament, this Heat team lost to the Atlanta Hawks, and versus the Bulls, who were a 10th seed, nearly blew it late in the game. And if you want to talk dynamic duos for Boston and Miami, in this series undoubtedly, it was Martin and Butler versus Tatum and Brown. If you stack up these duos' numbers, compare the two straight up, it's a pretty staggering comparison. And you'd be hard-pressed to find anyone who didn't think Jaylen Brown this series was at best the fourth best player in the series. And to make a larger point about
Couldn't
making
go to his
all-NBA
left.
teams, all-star games,
Only had one good
even
game.
winning MVP, when it comes to the playoffs, none of that matters. As a guy like Jimmy wasn't an all-star, an all-NBA team member, and quite frankly, couldn't care less. And someone like Caleb Martin, to be outplaying Jaylen Brown in the East Finals,
He wanted it
after
more.
nearly being out of the NBA, is a miraculous story
Celtics
that should be
were up and
applauded.
down team.
And like you guys know, time and time again, when it comes to the NBA playoffs, the lights get brighter, and some players shrink, shrivel up, and don't come through. And unfortunately for Miami, Butler and Martin don't shrink and don't run from the moment. Now, speaking of those two players, you could argue Martin was the MVP of the series over Butler. That's a fine argument. But for me personally, I say Jimmy, being the number
Jimmy
one
overall,
option,
yes,
having the
for
pressure, and actually playing better than Martin for the majority of the series, I would still take him, averaging 25, 7, and 6, with nearly 3 steals over Caleb. What I think it was with the Jimmy, he was the MVP, but Caleb was the X factor who swung the series in Miami's favor. For both fan groups, Boston and Miami, this series was a roller coaster with highs, lows, and everything in between. But my one takeaway from this series is when the dust finally settled, Jimmy buckets very easily into the Tatum and Brown duo in this Game 7. As for Jaylen specifically, in this series and even Game 7, he was completely awful. I know his big contract
Bad
disputes,
night.
there's a lot of rumors out there, but is Jaylen Brown actually a 45, 50 mil guy? In this series, and really in the entire playoffs, I didn't see it. For all of the NBA fans said Jaylen Brown was better than Tatum, where was that
Put that to
in
bed.
Game 7?
Put that to
And
bed.
Tatum being hurt and hobbled was a prime time moment for Brown to prove he was that dude and a legit number one option. And for the entire series, he was a shell of himself, averaging 19 points on 42% shooting, 16% from deep, with nearly
He was
4
awful,
turnovers.
except for one game.
And the numbers right there, they aren't as bad as you would think, but if you watch the actual games, Jaylen Brown in this series was just god-awful. And like I said earlier, being second team All-NBA, first team All-NBA, come playoff time, doesn't matter. And Jimmy in this series was by far the alpha dog and played Tatum to a standstill. And if you want to get very simplistic, what it came down to was Jaylen Brown being severely outplayed by Caleb Martin. Look, I love Jaylen as a player, but I do not see him in Boston for the 2023-2024 season. And most likely, he'll be in Houston, Charlotte, or maybe even Portland. And given the new CBA rules, with Tatum and Brown both locked in at over $100 million per season, that is combined. The rest of the roster, it's going to be slim pickings to build a team around that duo. And really going forward, what you're going to have is teams of two superstars and some role players, supporting cast players, sprinkled in around them. Can you win a championship with Jaylen Brown and Tatum being paid both $50 million each? After nearly 8 years of watching them, the answer still is a resounding no. And looking at someone like Jimmy, he's the lone superstar on his Heat team and still has vanquished Boston in 2 out of 3 series. And even more impressive than that, versus the Bucks and Giannis, he's 2-1 versus them, just like versus Boston, and ended their run this year. As Bud is fired, and Brook Lopez is on the market and a sought-after free agent. And looking ahead to the NBA Finals, the Heat yet again are going to be heavy underdogs. As Jokić for the past 2 weeks has basically been hibernating, staying in Mile High, and getting well rested. I doubt anyone is going to pick the Heat to actually upset Denver. And me, myself, I'm not picking the Heat to win. But if you told me in 2 weeks' time Jimmy was winning his first title and Spo was winning his third, I wouldn't be shocked by any means. As Miami, and quite literally,
will they be the
every
first
time
number 8 seed to win the
has proved that I was
championship?
wrong.
I have to
And
look back and
somehow,
see. If you
if
know,
they
let me
win
know in the comments.
championship, it'll be stuff of legend, not just in basketball, but in all of sports. As the combined record of their opponents they played is 215 and 113. All time, that is the 10th toughest run ever by opponents' wins. And looking at recent history, only the 2016 Cavs even come close. So when speaking about Eric Spoelstra making his 6th finals, at this point, he's on a short list of the greatest coaches in NBA history. As the Big Three Heat, of course he won 2 championships, but still at that point he's looked at as a really good coach who had LeBron and Wade. But now after 2020, making the finals as a 5th seed, and this year as the 8th seed, he's a made man and one of the greatest coaches of all time. And the last thing I do want to say, when it comes to Jimmy Butler, playoff Jimmy is playoff Jimmy for a reason. As looking at his numbers, he averaged 28.5 points, 7.0 boards, 5.7 assists, 2.1 steals on 48% shooting. We always talk about playoff risers and playoff fallers. Jimmy undoubtedly is a playoff riser of the highest caliber. As comparing his playoff play to regular season play, he's averaging more points, rebounds, assists, steals, and blocks, and shooting better from 3. And watching the actual games, the vibe I get from Jimmy, he's always cool, calm, collected, and he's in the moment, ready to come through. And if you debate him as a top 5 player, top 10 player, at this point, I'm not going to push back too heavily. As comparing him to the so-called MVP and his former teammate, their playoff play is simply laughable. And like I said earlier, winning things like MVP, being an All-Star, All-NBA, those things are fine. But guys like Jimmy, playoff guys, those are guys you want on your team late in the season. And looking beyond the actual stats, Jimmy's mentality and mindset has to be applauded. After a horrible Game 6, he took personal responsibility for the Heat losing that game. And he said point blank, if I play better, we win. Compare that mindset, that attitude, to other superstars in the league who blame teammates and beg for more help, and Jimmy Butler is cut from a different cloth. So, as always, thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'll see you next time.
Great video. The title could be misleading a little bit because we went a little bit about how Jimmy Butler got revenge on the Boston Celtics. He didn't really dissect like fully how he got revenge on the Boston Celtics and all that. But Miami Heat, man, just being an 8th seed, going in the play-in tournament and just having this incredible run and finally making it to the finals. Last time we seen an 8th seed make it to the finals was in 1999 with the New York Knicks with Latrell Sprewell, Marcus Camby, Charlie Ward. Ewing was playing, but like he got out with an injury. Larry Johnson. I mean, that list goes on and on of who was on that roster by Jeff Van Gundy, going against the young San Antonio Spurs with the young Tim Duncan and the veteran David Robinson. So, but Boston, just an up and down team, man. Like, they came in this series. You expect Boston to win this series in probably 5-6 games or even 7 games. But the way they came in the first 3 games, like, they could have won the first and second game, but Miami Heat, they just told themselves that they wanted it more. And you seen it in the first game, 46 points in the third quarter by the Miami Heat. They looked like Golden State out there. And Jimmy Butler was leading the charge too as well, man. Playoff Jimmy, man. And all the undrafted players just come in and was just hitting their shots, man. And Kyle Lowry was really great. And then the second game, Grant Williams poked the bell at Jimmy Butler, and Miami Heat went on a 24-9 to end the game and everything. In game 3, the Heat just pretty much kicked their behinds, man. The Celtics did not give no effort whatsoever. Their defense was just awful this series. And then the offense was just broken. They just could not beat the zone defense. Now, Game 5, you seen them in Game 5, being able to break down the Heat's defense and everything, the way they were playing and the way they were shooting efficiently and everything, but they just couldn't stop it most likely. And then offensively, Caleb Martin, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Kyle Lowry, Bam Adebayo, with his defense. I mean, they just pretty much just let loose and just, did what they did, man, to beat the Celtics, man. And the Celtics just got awful. And Tatum and Brown, Tatum had an up and down series and everything. Brown was just off of this series, and then he had that one good game. Butler and Martin now played Tatum and Brown. As simple as that. And then Game 7, as soon as Tatum's ankle went down, he was like, okay, Jaylen Brown he's going to definitely step up to the plate. And they just expose. Oh, man, the phone died, unfortunately. But, Jimmy Butler, got his revenge, man, and won the 2 out of the 3 series they face each other, in the Eastern Conference Finals, man. So, it's going to bring a lot of changes to the Boston Celtics if they're going to either do a sign and trade with Jaylen Brown or keep Jaylen Brown. They just have to figure it out, though. So let me know in the comments below what you think about the video and thoughts of Jimmy Butler and the Heat, making it to the finals, and then them going against Boston and how they did really well against Boston. Just let me know in the comments and let me know what to react to next. Subscribe to This Is JP for more basketball content. Click the notification bell. You know our next upload is on the road to 40K. Thank you all so much for tuning in. I'm JP, and we out of here. Peace.